I was uploading the video, Shannon. Thank you. I said, let me hurry up and get over here before they be before they start cursing. Okay, Aaron, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. And I got him pulled up already. Y'all, we back. So if everybody is joining, we're just watching the hearing today from the rapper Cash Out. He has a trial going on in Fulton County. It's a sex trafficking case. Someone said his mom was arrested too. So here we go. All right, here we go. Let me put it. I didn't know, Aaron. I didn't know if you want to come now, later, but I'll just put the link in the chat because I want to see what's going on here. I don't really know what's alleged, so we do know this Fulton County. I'm happy to see what the evidence is going to say. Hold on, y'all. Wrong link.
You will be buzzed into the hallway and you will proceed to my jury room. Ladies and gentlemen, from this point forward, you will not enter the courtroom unless Sergeant Pilgrim brings you out from the jury room. After breaks and at the beginning of the day, you will go straight to the jury room from the elevators. Please wear layered clothing. Sometimes it is cold in the jury room and in the courtroom. We have a refrigerator, a toaster oven, and a microwave available for your use. Please bring snacks and your lunch. Unfortunately, there are very little available food choices around this courthouse. I will ask that you wear your juror stickers whenever you are in the courthouse. This is so the lawyers and the witnesses can identify you as a juror. From this point on, the lawyers, parties, witnesses, and anyone else associated with this case in any way, with the exception of my staff, are prohibited from having any contact with you whatsoever. So if you happen to encounter any such persons on the street or in the elevator, please do not attempt to communicate with them in any way, and do not be offended when they ignore you. They are not trying to be rude. They are simply abiding by the law. If for some reason you have contact with one of the lawyers, or if you inadvertently overhear something about the case, please notify my deputy immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, we will generally hold court from 9 o'clock until between 5 and 6:30 p.m. With a 1 hour break for lunch around the noon time, whatever makes sense. Sometimes it'll be 1 o'clock, sometimes it'll be noon. It just depends. For the sake of your fellow jurors, please arrive on time, as we cannot begin or continue the case until all jurors are present. If something unexpected happens and you absolutely cannot help being late, please call my office immediately. We will provide you with the number. You will reach out to Ms. Tomlinson, my judicial assistant. Again, you are not to discuss the case with anyone or allow anyone to discuss it in your presence. And I need to remind you not to watch TV or read newspaper accounts, no social media, no posting regarding the case. In other words, I'm not saying you can't watch TV, but if something were to pop up on the television related to this case, then you should immediately turn the channel, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it might be helpful if I give you some preliminary instructions concerning criminal law and trial procedure, which will apply to this criminal case. A crime is a violation of a statute of this state in which there shall be a union or joint operation of act and intention. That is, a crime is committed when a person violates a statute of this state by acting as prohibited while, at the same time, he has a criminal intention and no other defense excuses the conduct. A person will not be presumed to act with criminal intention. However, you, the jury, may find such intention upon consideration of the words, conduct, demeanor, motive, and all other circumstances connected with the act for which the accused is being prosecuted. The state cannot bring a person accused of a felony to trial unless the grand jury has first indicted that person. Grand jurors do not try criminal cases. They ordinarily only hear from witnesses for the state. When a criminal case is tried, the defendant has pled not guilty to the indictment. This plea of not guilty denies every essential allegation of the indictment and forms the issue or question that you as the trial jury will decide. The indictment and the plea of not guilty to it are the legal procedures by which the state brings charges against the accused into court. They are not evidence, and you should not consider them to be evidence.
Now, why
Every person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. No person shall be convicted of a crime unless each element of the crime is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The state has the burden to prove each essential element of each crime charged beyond a reasonable doubt. In this state, a defendant on trial may or may not testify as he or she chooses. If the defendant does testify, you would judge his or her credibility by the same tests applied to any other witness. If the defendant does not testify, which is the defendant's absolute constitutional right, you shall not draw any inference of guilt from this decision, and the defendant's election not to testify may not in any way affect your verdict. Moreover, the defendant has no duty to call any witnesses or present any evidence during the trial. If he or she calls no witnesses or presents no evidence, you may not derive any inference of guilt from such failure to produce evidence. In such case, you decide guilt on whether the state's evidence proves the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Under our system, I have the duty as the trial judge to decide the law that applies to a case and instruct you on it. You have the duty as the jury to decide the facts in a case from the evidence and reasonable inferences arising from the evidence. In reaching your verdict, you also have the duty to apply the law to those facts. You decide the facts from the evidence. The evidence has two parts: testimony of witnesses and exhibits. A witness means anyone who testifies in person from the stand. The exhibits are those documents, objects, or...
Okay, I need to clarify something because we were saying, oh no, he's not charged with RICO. No, he is I'm reading from Fox 5. Gibson is a well-known artist in Atlanta's music scene, is facing several serious charges, including rape, sex trafficking, and luring women into prostitution, according to Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Additionally, he has been charged with violating RICO. So he has that too. And Jazz is correct. That's what made me go look it up. I said, let me go make sure we got the charges right. He is look at my man. He is charged with RICO, and Funny did say she'd keep using this because she said it's effective.
Photos that the court admits into evidence. You will have most of the exhibits with you in the jury room while you deliberate. However, there are some exhibits which cannot be sent to the jury room, so it will be important that you pay close attention to all of the exhibits admitted during the trial. I caution you that what the lawyers say during the trial is not evidence. Also, anything I might do or say is not evidence. I have no leanings at all in this case. My only interest is to have the case tried fairly and according to the law and the constitutions of this state and the United States. You are the exclusive judges of the witnesses' credibility. That is, you decide the truthfulness and reasonableness of their testimony. You may believe or disbelieve all or any part of the testimony of any witness. You have the duty to decide what testimony is worthy of belief and what testimony is not worthy of belief. You should lay aside any preconceived notions and not decide a witness's credibility until the witness has testified. This is true no matter who the witness is, whether a victim of a crime, the defendant on trial, a police officer, an expert in some field, or otherwise. But remember that the defendant has no duty to testify or present any evidence whatsoever. Rules of law govern what the court admits into evidence. If an attorney objects to the admission of evidence, then I must rule on the objection and decide whether you can consider the evidence. You should understand that there are two ways that I can respond to an objection. If I say sustained, then that means that I granted the objection and you should not consider the objected to evidence. If I say overruled, then that means that I did not grant the objection and you may consider the objected to evidence. You should not infer or assume anything from either the lawyer's objections or the court's rulings. During this trial, the court will have to consider some issues outside of your presence. When that occurs, I shall excuse you to the jury room for a time. During these periods, the court will do its best to handle the matter as promptly as the law permits. These interruptions, ladies and gentlemen, may occur frequently or infrequently. They may occur very close in time to one another or far apart from each other. They may last for what feels like a short period of time or a lengthy period of time. I wish for you to understand that this is a common occurrence and ask for your continued patience when this happens during the course of the trial. Now, the procedure in a criminal trial is generally as follows. First, the lawyers for both sides may make an opening statement to you. This opening statement is not evidence itself. Remember, what the lawyers say is not evidence. However, it is a preview or an outline of what they expect the evidence to show. Following the opening statements, the state has the opportunity to present evidence to support the charges against the defendants, and the defendants have the opportunity, if he or she so elect, to present evidence in his or her defense. This part of a trial is called each party's case in chief. In the state's case in chief, the state calls its witnesses and introduces any exhibits. When these witnesses testify, they may be cross-examined by the defendant. When the state has presented all of its evidence, the state will rest its case. Then, if the defendant elects to present any evidence, the defendants may call his or her witnesses and introduce his or her exhibits. Of course, when these witnesses testify, they may be cross-examined by the state. However, the defendant has no duty to testify or present any evidence whatsoever. After the presentation of the evidence, the lawyers may make a closing argument to you. At this time, the lawyers will try to persuade you to decide the case in their favor. Following the closing arguments, I will charge or instruct you more specifically on the law that directly applies to this case. Then you will retire to the jury room to deliberate and reach your verdict. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not an exhaustive description of the procedure in a criminal trial, but hopefully it will give you a quick overview which will help you to understand the trial as it proceeds. It is your duty to follow any instructions that the court may give you during the case. Please remember to listen carefully to all of the evidence. Do not jump to conclusions before the parties present all the evidence. Also, please remember that during a trial, it would be improper for you to discuss the case with anyone or to allow anyone to discuss the case with you or in your presence or within your hearing.
I can skip this if y'all want to. I like hearing this little part, but I can skip this. Okay, looks like that's the consensus. Hold on.
Also, during the trial, you should not communicate with the parties.
Promises of love, promises of safety, promises of a better life, promises to level up, promises to lay down in a safe place. Promises. You will learn that there were promises given in this case. They were cloaked in profit, cloaked in greed. In their arrogance, predators target the weak who are caught in the schemes they devise. Their eyes watch in secret for their victims like rattlesnakes.
Now this shit.
They lie in wait.
Now who the hell is this? I'm pissed off already. I'm pissed off already. And it's just like a pastor for me. I don't mind if you have to go look at your notes here and there, but that's not Hilton. But you're going to just outright read from your iPad. She just outright going to read from her iPad. You didn't want to like learn none of it?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that is what this case is about. This case is about these defendants. These defendants who built a proverbial house, if you will, a business on the backs of young women. Through the lure afternoon. My name is Ernell Winfrey, as I stated earlier. I, along with my co-counsel, Chief Deputy District Attorney Adrian Love, Deputy District Attorney Grant Blue, represent the state of Georgia. First, I want to thank you for your patience during the arduous task of jury selection, and I thank you in advance for your service today. As you see the evidence unfold in this case, you may see witnesses that may not be in chronological order. Don't be alarmed. Just stay with us to the very end. It will all make sense. The players. Who are the players? John Michael Hakeem Gibson, also known as Cash Out. You will learn that he is the leader of this organization. You heard the word enterprise. It's just a group of people doing criminal acts for money in this case. You will learn that he's the one who set up plays and dates through cell phones, who lured girls in through his notoriety, who promised love and other things to get them to comply, who then turned coercive for the win. Linda Smith, also known as Malinka Benny, also known as Mama Cash Out. You will learn that she is the mother of John Michael Gibson. And you will also learn all of her involvement, even including being a manager of sorts, even making clothes for girls to wear as they sold themselves. Tyrone Taylor, also known as Booski. You will learn that he is a cousin of Cash Out, John Gibson. And you will learn his involvement. He was like a recruiter. You'll learn that he was trying to be close to someone who's famous to be somebody. You'll learn that he got involved with a young girl he never even knew before, with the promise of a safe place for her to lay her head. And you'll learn of his involvement through other witnesses in this case. The house that Cash built, literally and proverbially, it was built on exploitation, built on girls who were vulnerable. During the course of this trial, you will hear evidence about a criminal enterprise. Now that's a legal term. Don't get confused about that. Like I said, it's just a group of people committing crimes for profit. They organize themselves and they work together to do it. This organization works in the shadows, but it also works in plain sight. They built it by exploiting others, exploiting young women, fueled by deception and coercion, especially young women. Driven by profit and greed. Orchestrated by each of them. It was a criminal conspiracy that preyed on vulnerable young women for the purpose of making money. This case is about manipulation. It's about control, mental manipulation. It's about isolation. This case is also about violence.
Oh, I hate it.
Now, you heard at the beginning of the trial all these different counts. You heard racketeering, you heard RICO. RICO is just a pattern that we're going to show that they use to do these criminal acts. Several criminal acts they use to advance their organization to make money. The evidence will show that they operated in a group. You will hear about trafficking a person for sexual servitude. You'll hear about pimping, pandering, tampering with evidence, obstruction. All of these criminal acts operating in concert to show that they operated together. That's all RICO is. You will hear survivors, women who were groomed, women who were isolated and sold. You will see records and messages, financial transactions, witness testimony, victim testimony, all calculated and designed to profit off of human suffering. You will also hear from expert witnesses in this case. Specifically, you will hear from an expert witness whose name is Mary Beth Nelson. She is a witness of human trafficking, and she will give you education and provide the dynamics of sex trafficking and to debunk the big myths about trafficking. She'll debunk the myth about sex trafficking being the proverbial white van that runs around and snatches women and children off the street and sells them into sex slavery. She'll talk about it being up close and personal and intimate. She'll explain to you the nomenclature or the verbiage used in commercial sex so you'll understand when the evidence comes out what is being said and what it means. You'll hear from DNA experts, and it's up to you to judge the credibility and the believability of all the witnesses, to include DNA experts, and they will provide their findings. So, who are we really talking about here? This case centers around victims. And you heard many names at the beginning of the initial questioning when you all were sitting in the general audience. You will learn about Jasmine Brown. You will learn that she's from Delaware and was a ward of the state, meaning she didn't have connected family. You will learn that her first play was a violent rape set up by her trafficker, John Michael Hakeem Gibson. You will learn that she ended up getting out of that situation by some brave law enforcement folks who stepped in and saw her and helped her get out. And it was from her disclosure that all of it broke open and we were able to find other survivors and victims to bring these defendants to justice. You learn about Jordan Adams, who was also a vulnerable young woman who had gotten kicked out of her home and was on the streets of Atlanta. She ran into Tyrone Taylor, also known as Brewski, who promised her a safe place to lay her head that night at a hotel on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Unbeknownst to her, she's raped and she is sodomized. You will learn that Mr. Taylor, defendant Taylor, he invited Cash Out over to have fun with her as well, and she was victimized all night long. You will learn she was also then put out on the street to go and sell her stuff. You will learn about Jessica McQuarrie, who is from Indiana, and she was involved with Cash Out during the early years. Dominique Wiewitkowski, you'll learn about her. Talicia Dubin, Frederica Spencer, Talithia Wright, Chantori Tolbert, Diamond Irving. You will learn that while each of them found themselves in this heinous situation, the one common thread is that while they suffered, they survived. They were robbed of their dignity and cloaked in shame. You will show that the defendants in this case used threats of harm, physical harm, psychological abuse, financial control, and drugs to trap their victims. And we will demonstrate that this organized group had a command structure, specific roles, specific rules, but the product in this case was human beings. Human beings used over and over and over again. You will learn how Cash Out and his mother, Mama Cash Out, and the cousin Brewski, because it's all in the family, and how they work together in order to obtain this goal. This goal was to make money, motivated by money. The enterprise, it used tactics designed to recruit women, designed to control women, designed to exploit young women. Some of these women were often desperate. For the purpose of commercial sex, this is what they were obtained for. They lured them through a pattern of systematic plans. All of this, again, to gain money. The victims were groomed, isolated from their families, and coerced. And the people sitting behind this operation, they knew exactly what they were doing. The house that they built, the foundation is greed. The backs of the young women that made the money for them, they had no control of the money they made. Some of them subject to sexual violence, some of them subject to physical violence, all of them subject to psychological violence. Now, there's something important you will hear in this courtroom. Two of the co-defendants, individuals who were once part of this very enterprise, will take the stand and they will testify for the prosecution. They will tell you what they saw, they will tell you what they did, and they will tell you what these defendants did. The witnesses were not promised anything in return, no deals, no promises, no things. They are coming forward because the truth matters. And because they know what happened and know it must be brought to the light.
That's right, Raquel. We'll see.
The testimony will be of Kiara Adams. You will learn that she's been involved with cash out from even early on, since about 2014 to about 2022. Intimately involved with the inner workings and dealings of this organized way of committing crimes. She will describe to you in detail all that she did, her part in it, and all that they did, and their part in it. You will also hear from Deanna Sanders. She was in a relationship with Cash Out. And you will learn that all of these girls believed that they were in a relationship with Cash Out. All of them learned and felt as though he loved them, or they were his girlfriend, or they were his wife, or soon to be wife. All of that. And Deanna Sanders will talk to you about her physical abuse at the hands of these women.
Yes,
You will have corroboration. You will have testimony, will be supported by a mountain of evidence, text messages, financial records, witness accounts,
Oh, they got financial records.
all of it pointing to the same conclusion. The defendants work together, exploiting human lives for profit. Now, the court already instructed the burden is on us, it's on the state. The defendants have no burden whatsoever. They don't have to put up a scintilla of evidence at all. But I want to inform you to be mindful of the distractions, to not go down the rabbit holes. The evidence will be the evidence. I ask you to take notes, copious notes. We'll be here for a while.
What?
So you may not remember something from the first day to the last day. This evidence will be disturbing. I will admit the details will be hard to listen to and difficult, but they are necessary. Because at the end of this trial, the only conclusion the evidence will support is that the defendants ran a criminal enterprise that trafficked human beings. Defendants Taylor and defendants Gibson even sodomized and raped one of the victims. And this pattern of criminal behavior must be brought to light. And the defendants must be held accountable. You will learn that there is nothing that is concealed that will not be disclosed or hidden, and that all will be made known. What has been done and said in the dark will be heard in the daylight. And what has been whispered in the ear in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from this witness stand. I will come back to you at the end of this case, and we will talk about all the evidence you heard, and we will review all the applicable law. And I will come back and ask you to find all of the defendants guilty. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Matthews, on behalf of Mr. Gibson, would you like to offer his jury an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the floor to do so at this time, sir.
Thank you.
In the case because I'm sorry, that opening statement was a little scary.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to take this opportunity to thank you in advance for your time and your attention that you have given to us for these last 7 or 8 days in getting you all selected. We have selected a jury that is the fairest jury to hear this case. I have an opportunity and a privilege and an honor to represent Mr. John Michael Gibson, along with myself and Attorney Carson Matthews Jr. You have been impaneled, ladies and gentlemen, to hear and listen to evidence and law in this case. The trial of John Michael Gibson, aka Cash Out. Who is John Michael Gibson? He's 34 years old.
Oh,
He's an American rapper. He was born in Columbus, Georgia. He moved to the Atlanta area as a teen. Came from humble beginnings. He moved to Atlanta, Georgia, living with his mother and his siblings, east side of Atlanta, and he developed a love for music. He worked hard in the development of his craft. He didn't allow his humble beginnings, he did not allow where he was born, he did not allow his circumstances to stop his dreams. What were his dreams, ladies and gentlemen? His dreams were to write music, to write lyrics, become an artist, sell records, to do concerts. Through his hard work, through his dedication, through his sacrifice, that came to fruition. He went in a studio right here in the Atlanta area, started working, started putting his talent to work, putting his hard work and his sacrifice to effort. And that effort began to pay off. So he was 21 years old when music executive L.A. Reid invited him to New York City along with his local management to be signed. Mr. Gibson, he performed for L.A. Reid up in New York City. When he performed for them, they spent the entire day talking in a boardroom with industry executives. And they signed John Michael Gibson, Cash Out, Epic Records. When they signed Mr. Gibson, his first major song was a song by the name of Cash It Out. It was released in March 2012. It peaked at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was runner-up in the hip-hop department. And it topped as hot rap songs. Mr. Gibson toured all over the nation. Every city, every state. He was famous and still is. He was known. His songs were being played all summer long, all year long. And he did well for himself. He didn't just stop with making that one single. He made another single, released it in 2012, featuring Wale. He made another single in 2012 called She Twerking. These are songs that were played everywhere. Single released in 2014, still working. Released an album in 2014, Let's Get It. Features with Wiz Khalifa, Ty Dolla, French Montano, Rich Homie Quan, Waka Flocka. These are not just local artists, these are national artists that Mr. Gibson was working with and worked with. These are 12 tracks. This is a full album, working. These songs aren't making themselves. Released another album in 2014 featuring Snoop Dogg, Rich the Kid, DJ Bobby Black. He worked with these artists. In November of 2014, released another album at 11 tracks. 2014, another album, It's My Time. Keisha, another one, 2015, 17 tracks. Working, honing his craft, touring, taking care of himself. This is the house that cashed it. 2015, 8 tracks. Tracks are songs. Born for This, featuring Rich Homie Quan, released in 2016. Song called Little Baby, released in 2016. Ran Up a Check, featuring Lil Yachty, again in 2016. Working. And the list continues to go on. 2016. 2017. 2019. 2020. Those are all songs, albums, Mr. Gibson working, taking care of his business, and building his craft. Now, we are now here in this trial. He's been charged with count 1, a RICO. There's no conspiracy here. There's no criminal enterprise, and there's no structure to any criminal organization. The evidence will show that there was no organization that resulted in structure, that resulted in there being a scheme, meetings, officers, the things that you would see in a corrupt, criminal, mafia-style organization that RICO was built for. The evidence is going to show that this goes back, in terms of this indictment, from 2013, 10, 12 plus years ago, 21. The evidence is going to show that this was put together in a RICO case. They put this together. Now let's talk about some of these persons that you will hear from. Now the allegation, ladies and gentlemen, is that Talicia Dewberry pimped and pandered. She was interviewed by members of the district attorney's office several years later. 6, 7 years later. 22 maybe, 2022. And you will hear her tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it was not Mr. Gibson that it's this girl named Raven.
Yeah, he's trying to get it
That
out.
I went to high school with. So I encourage you to follow along and listen to what comes out. It's not a rabbit hole. It's not distractions. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be asking questions and getting answers.
Okay.
It's this girl named Raven I went to high school with. You're not going to hear.
So basically, it sounds like what he's saying the witnesses or the witness may say is whatever was happening to her was being done to her or told by the Raven young lady. Basically, she's the middle person, I guess.
That Mr. Gibson recruited her, enticed her
Hi, Ash.
to be pimped or pandered. Jessica McQuarrie. Keep in mind the dates. 2013, 2014. So the evidence is going to show that she was interviewed in 2022, 8 years later. You will hear that she moved to Georgia from Indiana to be with a man named James Jefferson. She did not come to Georgia to be with John Michael.
Basically, yeah.
You will hear that she was in communication with her mother, Christine Spurlock. There was no pimping or pandering, no simple battery. So you listen to it. Some of it may be hard to hear. Our job is not to be brutal. Our job is not to demean. Our job is to get the information. To get the information so that you can hear it. And so that you can evaluate it.
At least he doesn't have an iPad, y'all.
Dominique Wojciechowski. Still in 2015 now. Interviewed when? 2022. See the trend? You're going to see the trend. 2022. You're going to be asking yourself these questions. You're all being interviewed around the same time. I will ask you to follow this case. You will not find any proof that Mr. Gibson committed a sex trafficking on Dominique Wojciechowski.
Rico has like 10 years.
Frederica Spencer and Talithia Wright. I put them together, ladies and gentlemen, because they were together. They were together. The evidence is going to show that they were together when they came to Georgia from Alabama. You're going to hear, ladies and gentlemen, that they were not, they didn't come here because Mr. Gibson asked them to come here. You're going to hear that they came to Georgia because Deanna Sanders asked them to come to Georgia.
You need to hug every day.
And look at the date, August 1 to August 13. They were interviewed when? 2022. One in April, one in August. Now, when we get them on the stand, and when they come and take this witness stand, we're going to talk. We're going to have some conversation. What did they tell the police that morning? You will hear evidence that they're going to tell the police that they were robbed by 3 men at the Delk Road Baymont Inn. But you may hear something different when they take the stand. You may hear that they may say that they were raped by a guy or 2 guys. And we're going to talk about all those things. Because you will have an opportunity to listen to the evidence. You will have an opportunity to weigh the evidence. You will have an opportunity to listen to and evaluate credibility. And you will do that. There was no pimping and there was no pandering by Mr. John Michael Gibson of Frederica Spencer and Talithia Wright. Jasmine Brown. Mr. Gibson is charged with trafficking Jasmine Brown on March 27, 2018. March 28, 18. She comes into this courtroom and you talk to her and she talks to you and she tells you what she tells you. Then we're going to compare what she tells you to what she's told other people. You'll have an opportunity to listen to the evidence. You will have an opportunity to weigh the evidence. You will have an opportunity to weigh the credibility. And you're going to learn that Jasmine Brown is her own person. She did what she wants. You'll have an opportunity to see text messages. So we're going to go through it. When we go through it, you'll have an opportunity to listen to the evidence. You'll have an opportunity to weigh the evidence. And you will have an opportunity to weigh credibility. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard a very long indictment being read. You heard that indictment being read. There were multiple counts in the indictment. And in that indictment, which is not evidence, but it's a document they put together, being the district attorney's office. You'll have an opportunity to listen to the evidence. You'll have an opportunity to weigh the evidence. You'll have an opportunity to weigh credibility. Count 24, they're charging Mr. Gibson with aggravated assault. They're saying that Mr. Gibson struck Ms. Brown with a belt that likely caused seriously bodily injury. Then if you just walk a few steps down the road through the path of the indictment, and you'll stumble upon the same allegation charging Mr. Gibson with the same conduct, and they chose to charge him with simple battery now. Count 30. Beating with the belt. This is their document that they've charged Mr. Gibson with. You'll have an opportunity to make it make sense in their indictment. Which is it? Is it either? How can it be both? Why do they put them both in there? We're going to talk about all those things. I want you to listen carefully. You will not find any belt in evidence. You will not find a picture of a belt in evidence. You will not find a description in any paperwork of a belt. Now, part of this case. They charged Mr. Gibson with keeping a place of prostitution. They're saying that on June 7th at 737 Alpha Road, that this place was a place to practice prostitution. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that there was a search warrant that was conducted at this address. You will not hear any evidence that in the search of this location that they found condoms, lubricants, baby oil,
Yeah, maybe we don't need any of this.
no surveillance equipment. You're not going to hear any evidence that there were printed materials promoting illegal services, no ledgers or appointment books, no controlled substances. Not in the search warrant.
He said he
They're going to say he fed the drugs.
that's what it seemed like actually.
Then they charged Mr. Gibson with willful obstruction on that day in June of 2019. They're saying he refused to come out. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that he was in the bed. The evidence is going to show that they used some type of tear gas or some other technique or tactic, and that there was gas in the room. There wouldn't be evidence that he complied and came out. They charged him with willful obstruction.
So he sleep.
Ladies and gentlemen, they charged Mr. Gibson with possession of a firearm during the commission or attempt to commit a felony on June 6, 2019 through June 7, 2019. They allege that Mr. Gibson had on him or within arm's reach a handgun during the commission of a felony against and involving the person of another. And the person of another, you will learn that it says trafficking a person for sexual servitude. But the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, will show that the only people in the residence at the time was Mr. Gibson and Miss Adams. The evidence will show that there was no person that alleged to have been trafficked was inside the residence or on the property. So the evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that a gun, but there's no alleged trafficked person in the residence. There's no alleged trafficked person on the property. But they find a gun, and they say, oh, it's in possession of a firearm during the commission or attempted commission of trafficking a person. The evidence is going to show otherwise on that day. Jordan Adams, ladies and gentlemen, January 11, 2019 through January 12, 2019. They are alleging, ladies and gentlemen, that Mr. Gibson trafficked by coercion, that he physically confined her, restrained her. It's count 14.
Out in there.
And that he raped her on count 10. And that he committed aggravated sodomy, alleging that he forced her to have oral sex on him. That's what's being alleged on January 11th, January 12th, 2019. However, ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to point in another direction. What direction, ladies and gentlemen, is it going to point? Where is it going to lead us? Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show that Jordan Adams, she was handed a folder with 6 photographs. And of those 6 photographs, ladies and gentlemen, it included picture of Mr. Tyrone Gibson, amongst 5 others. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Adams picked out a totally different person that she said most like cash out.
Now, this is why I can't wait for the evidence, because they're saying that when they broke into this, when they bust into this house, right? He's allegedly in the bed. The tear gas, they throw the tear gas in there. It's only him and Adams in the house. They are alleging that that cash out trafficked Adams. But what the attorney is saying, well, when they gave her a pictures of 6 people, she didn't even pick him out. And she was allegedly trafficked by him. So interested to see the evidence for this particular part.
Now, the allegations is that she was sexually assaulted all night long by Mr. Gibson, Mr. Taylor. So she picks out photographs.
Hold on, let me just say, whoever you are, person, first of all, you got to have no life and be bored as hell to go keep creating fake pages to come and interrupt our vibe over here. Like, damn, okay? We're going to block you every time. So if you want to spend the rest of your time creating all of these fake pages to come in and call us thirsty hot pockets and everything that you're saying, be my guest. Okay? You're going to get blocked every damn time. I mean, you have just got to be the lamest of the fucking lame. Why are you worried about this YouTube channel, us watching court, when you could be doing something with your time? Imagine being a grown-ass person, male or female, and having to go create a fake page. Imagine that. That's got to be worse than sitting here, than us watching somebody who did something with their life and they're watching court. They're in court. Imagine that. Lame as hell. Imagine you being so lame you're going to create 50 pages to go talk on the pages. We don't even know you. Imagine that.
Someone
Sorry, y'all. I just hate when people just go keep creating pages. Like, please go get a life. Please.
totally different who is not John Michael Gibson. And on it, she writes, most like cash out. But it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. It goes farther. In her recorded interview, the day she spoke with the police, the question was asked, well, what did cash out look like? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been here for 7 or 8 days. We're all human. We all have eyes. Our eyes have vision. And you've had an opportunity to see Mr. Gibson. You all came in here, you looked at Mr. Gibson. You looked at Mr. Taylor. You looked at Ms. Smith. And you eyeballed them. Because that's just human nature. So they asked the question, what did cash out look like?
What'd she say? Oh, those were two.
She said it was tall. She said maybe 6 feet. 6'2".
How tall is me?
These are her words.
How tall is me?
But it doesn't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. The evidence is going to show that it goes farther. there was DNA evidence. You're going to hear from Ashley Hinkle. She's a forensic biologist with the GBI. So there was a kit, a sexual assault kit. And this is right after. There's a sexual assault kit that was done. It was preserved. And it was ultimately sent to GBI. And then one day, ladies and gentlemen, they got a Q-tip and they asked Mr. Gibson to open his mouth, and they swabbed the inside of his jaw. And when they did that, they preserved that. And then they sent it to GBI. So now they have the kit that they got from Miss Adams. And now they have the swabbing from Mr. Gibson. And what does the GBI do? What does Ms. Hinkle do? What does the forensic biologist do? They do their science. When they do their science, they offer a report.
Thank you.
And that report comes back, ladies and gentlemen. And we have an opportunity to read the report. And the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, is going to show that John Michael Gibson is excluded from the data obtained from the major contributor genotype obtained from the second fraction from the vaginal vestibule swab.
Chad, I got to see the rest of the evidence, y'all, because so far, she said he was like 6'2". Cash Out's like 5'9". That Aaron just put in here, he's about 5'9". She said, and this is the man that she had the whole day, just this piece right here. Also, that they had DNA evidence, but it didn't match him. So I can't wait to see the rest of the evidence because the prosecution said they have a lot of text messages. They've got financial records. And I bet it's a lot of damn cash apps, but they have financial records. So I that's why I love seeing both sides. I love seeing the opening statements. What are you going to show me as this trial progresses? Oh, go ahead.
Say real quick, based on the way that Matthews worded how they collected the sample, it doesn't sound like they had a warrant to collect his DNA.
Oh, wow. What did he say that makes you think that?
He said that they came in with a swab and just told him to like open his mouth and then swabbed his cheek. Nothing about like, we have a warrant to collect your DNA. We're going to do a buccal swab.
So do you think, just from hearing that it's possible that, well, they said they tested it. So I guess at some point it must have been okay for them to test. My next question was going to be, do you think it was thrown out? But they had to test it if he was excluded.
So it won't be thrown out because these are felony charges. And so they probably would have like collected his DNA at some point anyway. So it would come in through like the inevitability exceptions. Like if you illegally obtain something, but it's kind of inevitable that you would have found it.
I remember you said this.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I remember you said this same instance when we were talking about the truck and them taking it early. Okay.
Yeah, it happens way more frequently than you would like it to.
Okay. So I hope you guys heard what Erin was just saying, that when she listened to it, it sounds like there may not have been a warrant. just by the way he worded it. Yeah. Well, y'all is Fulton County, so we've seen what they are possible. I mean, what they're capable of doing.
August 27, 2021. Mr. Gibson.
I'm sorry. Can y'all help me out real quick? Because the person is back. But can y'all help me out? Did at any point have we said that this man is innocent? Because maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. I was under the impression not many of us in the chat know anything about this case. So we're all kind of watching, listening to what's being said. I just want to be sure, because I know this person is clearly bored, but I was trying to be sure. I don't remember anyone ever saying that this man was innocent. Maybe I'm crazy, losing it. Maybe I'm getting my trials confused or something. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Is charged with human trafficking and pimping of Kiara Adams for the purposes of prostitution.
Aaron, were you about to say something? You're muted.
We have not read the indictment, and Jealous of Love is actually crazy. That's all.
And this is in conjunction with a Gwinnett County case. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that that case was dismissed at the preliminary hearing in Gwinnett County. Shontori Talbert, July 1, 2020 through July 11, 2020. Charged Mr. Gibson with trafficking through the use of deception and coercion, pimping and pandering, keeping a place of prostitution, going back to that Alfred Road press. Now, what is the evidence going to show?
Is that the indictment, Aaron?
The evidence is going to show that Shontori Talbert got in her vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. She's 32 years old, and that she drove herself to Georgia from Texas in her own vehicle with her own money and with her dog. And she's 32 years old, not 18. This is not a case about minors. This is a case about adults. 32 years old, ladies and gentlemen. For 10 days, that's what they're saying, that he trafficked her. The evidence is going to show that Mr. Tyrone Gibson, John Michael Gibson did not traffic Shontori Talbert. And we'll get into it. You'll have an opportunity to listen to the evidence, weigh the evidence, and weigh the credibility. We've already talked about the Gwinnett County charges. Now, you may hear jail calls associated with this case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the state talk about co-conspirators. Well, I don't know if they're co-conspirators or not. That's going to be for you to determine. That's what you're here to do. That's how they are being labeled. Kiara Adams and Deanna Sanders, you will have an opportunity to listen to the evidence on them. You're going to have an opportunity to listen to the evidence on them. You will have the opportunity to weigh the credibility. You will hear that they, on this indictment, you're going to hear that they were charged. Now, you heard the state of Georgia say, well, there have been no promises made. Well, we're going to get into whether there were promises made. We're going to get into whether they made proffers, whether they made statements to the district attorney's office, who was present, what were they facing. You're going to hear all of that. You're going to have an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to determine what was their motivation in what they said. What was their interest in what they said? Was there anything, or is there anything over their head? Or do they have to come in here and talk in order for things to go smoothly with their case?
I like John Michael.
You will have an opportunity to judge credibility. You will have an opportunity to determine those things that motivate people to say whatever they're going to say.
I'm gonna tell y'all this. I feel like they must have it, and I don't know this to be true. It makes me feel like there is an overwhelming amount of evidence, and that is why he's probably doing all of this, because this is his chance to go ahead and try to give you guys a little glimpse of who he is, and try to refute some of the things that. Oh, that's somebody who's been watching me for a long time, and that's actually insane that you've been watching me since YSL and you're still this mad. It's damn. They must be real mad, baby. Turn the caps lock off. Turn the caps lock off. Maybe that's Vera for real.
Then when it's all said and done, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to ask you to weigh the evidence, listen to the evidence, judge credibility. This is a very long indictment, which is not evidence. There are a lot of witnesses. But if you stay with us, which we know you will, we'll come back later. We'll tie it all together. When we tie it all together.
Now, Jay, you just being messy with that super chat. You see clearly, whoever this is in this page, they are clearly bothered by us talking about, oh, fine, Mr. Matthews. And not you coming with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat saying, I know that ain't. I'll talk you through it, Daddy Matthews, and that is him. That is him, friend.
We're going to come back and we're going to ask you to find Mr. John Michael Gibson. Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Francis, on behalf of Ms. Smith.
Jay, you are being missed.
Jay, you may not have seen the fake page. You are not being missed, us, friend. We are in agreement.
Linda Smith is not guilty of charges against her in this indictment. Linda Smith is not guilty of charges against her in this indictment. You will not see any evidence that Linda Smith coerced anybody into a life of sexual service. She did not deceive anyone into a life of sexual service. She did not gain financially from anyone's sexual servitude. She did not subject anyone to sexual servitude. She did not harbor anyone in sexual servitude. And she did not maintain anyone in sexual servitude. All the witnesses that will come and talk to you have already made statements.
Y'all, I thought she was working with one of the damn lawyers. Did you know she was a defendant, Aaron?
I mean, you know what? Let me not say that.
I
I'm not
get
gonna say anything about any piercings that she may or may not have. I know that there is a female attorney on John Gibson's team. I don't know. I have no idea who that lady is.
y'all. Well, now we know Linda Smith. This is
Then
Linda
I guess
Smith.
that's his mom.
Is that his mama?
I think so, yeah. Let me Google it and verify.
That's his mom. They got matching tattoos. That's his mama.
Yeah, the trial also includes 2 other defendants, Linda Smith, also known as Mama Cash Out, and Tyrone Taylor, who are reportedly facing similar charges.
That is the mom.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she was working with. I don't know if I really saw the tattoos. Really, I remember the hair and the jacket. I don't know if I paid attention to the tattoos. Child, I thought that was his mom. I mean, I thought she was working. Okay, this is big. This Mama Cash Out.
I
Good.
definitely didn't see the tattoos at first either.
Okay, we're putting some faces with the names. Okay.
And when you listen to those statements, what you'll hear is they sort of barely knew Linda Smith. She was around, but they sort of barely knew her. No one's going to say that she did anything more them and deceptive. You're not going to see a single text message that illustrates that Linda Smith forced anyone into sex. You're not going to see an Instagram message. You're not going to see a video. You're not going to see a Facebook message. You're not going to see anything that she forced anyone to deceive anyone into a life of sex. Linda Smith is not a part of a group of individuals committing crime. She's not. She's not. There's no evidence that she had any intent to be a part of anyone, that she had any knowledge of any organized crime, any racketeering, anything of that nature. Linda Smith received some cash checks from a few people over a period of years. She received cash checks from Deanna for a couple of reasons. Deanna rented a room from Linda Smith with her own money. There's even a check that she wrote for Linda Smith. And Kiara used Linda Smith's car and wrecked it. And so, as a result of that, she cashed after the money for her car. So, she is not gaining anything from any enterprise. She's not part of any enterprise. All of the statements that were made to law enforcement, when people were arrested, in this case was investigated, barely mentioned Linda Smith. Evidence will not be there. You'll see it for yourself. And at the end of the evidence, we ask that you find Linda Smith not guilty of all charges.
All right. Mr. Hoover, can you take down the PowerPoint? Sure.
So did y'all hear they have explanations for the moms, all of the cash outs? They're alleging that this young lady stayed with his mom. She wrecked her car at one point. They're explaining the way the cash apps in the opening statements, and it was quick. So we shall see. Are they going to prove that?
The PowerPoint looks, if it's up, will you take it down? Thank you, Mr.
At least I have 4 defendants in this 3 defendants.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tyrone Taylor didn't rape Jordan Adams. Tyrone Taylor didn't force himself on Jordan Adams. Tyrone Taylor didn't force Jordan Adams into prostitution. Tyrone Taylor is not guilty of what the state has charged him. Now, this case starts with Jordan Adams way before January 11th and January 12th. This actually starts a couple months earlier in Cobb County. You're going to hear evidence and testimony that Jordan Adams was found under the influence of cocaine
driving the vehicle with her daughter in the back seat. She was arrested for that. Because she was arrested, DFACS gave custody of her daughter to her mother. You're also going to hear evidence that while Jordan Adams was out with that case pending, she stayed in the house with her parents and her daughter. Her father found a syringe full of drugs in the same house her daughter was in. You're going to hear evidence that because she, once again, endangered the life of her daughter, her father kicked her out of the house. Fast forward to January 11th, a couple months later, Jordan Adams happens to be at a gas station. Supposedly, she's telling people that she's going to the airport because she doesn't have anywhere to go. She goes to the gas station, runs into Tyrone's table. Goes up to Tyrone, hey, can you give me a couple bucks so I can get to the airport?
Yeah.
Tyrone says, yes, I will help you out. Gives her a couple dollars. Tyrone says, hey, can I have your phone number? Jordan says, yes. Willingly gave Tyrone her phone number after he gave her a couple dollars. Fast forward a couple hours, Tyrone's texting her, hey, what's up? Hey, what are you doing? Where you at? Jordan Adams says, I can't talk right now because I don't have a place to stay. I'm a little busy. I don't have a place to stay. So Tyrone goes, hey, if you need some help, you can come stay with us for a little while. Jordan Adams says, okay, tells Tyrone where she is. Tyrone doesn't have a car of his own at the time, so he sends a friend to pick her up. Jordan Adams willingly gets into this vehicle. No one forced her to. Jordan Adams and the friend drives Jordan Adams to the Airway Motel where Tyrone's staying. Jordan Adams willingly gets out of the vehicle. No one forced her to. Jordan Adams goes up to the door, knocks on it, and willingly goes into Tyrone's room. No one forced her to. Now, once in the room, drugs are there. Everyone's, or not everyone, people are doing drugs, stuff is happening, that's it. That's all we know as of right now. Fast forward, Jordan starts to tell this story about what happens in that room, and depending on who she's talking to, her story changes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear the evidence is going to show you that the very first person that Jordan was communicating with was her mother via text message. The evidence is going to show you Jordan never said, hey mom, I'm being raped by 2 men, send help. You're never going to see evidence that says, hey mom, I'm being tortured and kidnapped by 2 men, this is where I am. Hey mom, I'm being held on my own, I have nowhere to go, nothing to do, please send help. What you're going to hear is Jordan said things like, don't call anyone because I'll go to jail. Or mom, I'm going to call a friend to come pick me up, I'll take care of that on my own. Or mom, don't say anything that's going to get me in trouble. The state wants you to believe that Tyrone Taylor and Mr. Gibson are raping Jordan Adams from 6 to 12 hours, torturing her, abusing her, kidnapped her, the very first person she talks to about this, and she basically says, don't call anyone because I'm going to get arrested. Fast forward to, January 12th when she's talking to officers. Second story. Second time she has an opportunity to say what actually happened. Now the evidence is going to show you that she tells officers, as soon as she walks into that room, Tyrone made her take a shower, and then the rape started happening immediately. She says Tyrone is the only one raping her, and basically for about 3 or 4 hours, it's Tyrone continuously. He would get up, he would stop for a minute, and then he'd go right back to it. First time she talks to an officer, that's what she says. Then she adds in, well, you know what? It happened up to about 3 a.m., then Mr. Gibson shows up. And now it's 2 men raping her from 3 a.m. till 9 a.m. the same morning. So with this story, she tells the cops that 2 men are brutally raping her, torturing her, physically holding her down to the point where she can't move or breathe. They're choking her to where she can't move or breathe. She is scratching them, she is fighting them, but she can't stop. Sometimes both of them rape her together. Sometimes they rape her one by one. Sometimes they use condoms. Sometimes they didn't. And every time one of them would stop, they would give her cocaine. So ladies and gentlemen, the first time she talks to an officer, she says, 2 men raped me from 9 to 12 hours straight. They never really stopped because one of them were always doing something. But when one would pause, I would have cocaine. So she's getting raped, tortured, and beaten and drugged for 9 to 12 hours straight. A month later, she's talking to other officers. This time, she tells officers, well, when I got to the room, I took a shower. Tyrone didn't rape me for the first few hours. The rape didn't start until 3 a.m. when Mr. Gibson shows up.
story's already starting to change again. This time she goes on to say, yes, they both raped me for all this time. They drugged me the entire time. I couldn't do anything about it. But I was scratching them. I was doing all that, but I couldn't do anything else about it. The first time they talked to the officers, Jordan Adams said, well, all I saw was cocaine. They kept giving me cocaine. The second time they talked to the officers, Jordan Adams, oh no, there was cocaine, there was heroin, there was marijuana, there was vodka, there was tequila. We were doing everything. Her story completely changes every single time. What we do know at some point, Jordan is not in that room with Tyrone. She's not in that room with Mr. Gibson. Jordan, for 3 hours, let Jordan tell you, she is walking up and down the street from the hotel to the city. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is why this is so important. While Jordan Adams was walking up and down the street from the Citgo, she was by herself. We have no idea where Mr. Gibson is because she kind of forgets about him and doesn't say anything, but she says Tyrone was in the hotel room. So Miss Adams is walking up and down the street by herself with a cell phone. She goes to the Citgo. We know the day before she was 100% okay with begging people for money so she can get help. But now, fast forward, she's been raped by 2 men she doesn't know for 6 to 12 hours, depending on who she's talking to. She goes to the Citgo. She doesn't tell anybody she got raped. She doesn't go inside to the employee and say, hey, I'm being raped. I've been kidnapped. They're forcing me to prostitute. She doesn't do that. For 3 hours, she's walking up and down that street, seeing people, communicating with people. She never once said, help me, I have been raped. I am being tortured. I've been kidnapped. They're forcing me into prostitution. Ladies and gentlemen, you're also going to hear that during this time, Jordan Adams runs into the hotel manager. The manager goes out, what are you doing? Why are you walking around? Jordan Adams does not say, help me, I have been raped. She does not say, help me, I have been kidnapped. I have been tortured. They are beating me and forcing me into prostitution. Jordan says, you know what, I'm going to go get some cigarettes. That's why I'm walking, so I'm just going to get cigarettes. Those 2 times, Jordan could have told somebody, I need help. Again, she had her cell phone this entire time. Tyrone's nowhere around. Mr. Gibson disappeared. She never called a family member and said, hey mom, this is where I am, come get me. I've been raped. She never called a friend, hey, this is where I am, location drop, come get me, I've been raped. Citgo gas station, doesn't say a word. Hotel manager, doesn't say a word. Has a cell phone in her hand by herself, doesn't say a word. But the state wants you to believe that 2 men raped her for half a day, up to 12 hours, and she doesn't leave. Just to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see that the Citgo is half a mile away from the hotel, the Airway Motel, where it used to be. That's 2,640 feet. Takes about 10 minutes to walk there. You're also going to see the Atlanta Police Department Zone 4 precinct was 410 feet away from that hotel. It takes less than 2 minutes to get there. And what's crazy, to get to the Citgo from the hotel, she passed the precinct. So what that means, for 3 hours, she's walking up and down the street, past the police precinct, but she never goes in. She never goes up there and says, hey, these 2 guys are raping me. These 2 guys are forcing me into prostitution. These 2 guys are beating me with the butt of a gun, and they're torturing me, and I can't breathe. But the state wants you to believe that they raped her for 12 hours. She's by herself the entire time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're also going to hear testimony that allegedly Tyrone, after he forced her out into prostitution, said, if a man picks you up, take him to the Quality Inn. The Quality Inn is right next door to the precinct. Once again, she has an opportunity to go to another hotel to tell somebody, away from these 2 men, I'm getting raped and abused. She didn't do it. There's a reason she didn't do it, ladies and gentlemen. Because she got kicked out of her house while she was out with a pending case for drugs, doing drugs and making money the only way she knows how. That's why she was out there in Fulton Industrial. But the state wants you to believe that 2 men raped her, tortured her, beat her, choked her, suffocated her, crushed her body, and drugged her the entire time for 6 to 12 hours. Yet Jordan Adams still had enough power and strength and energy
to walk up and down the street for 3 hours and didn't tell anybody about that. With the cell phone in her hand, nobody around her. Now, at some point, an officer was going to ask her, well, why didn't you just walk away? Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Adams' response to that is because they had my stuff in that room. The officer said, what was the stuff? Jordan Adams said, some of my clothes and a phone charger. The state wants you to believe that 2 men raped her, beat her, and tortured her, and kidnapped her, and forced her into prostitution for half a day, up to 12 hours, and the reason she didn't leave was because she didn't have all her clothes and a phone charger. Does that make sense? Absolutely not. Now, Mr. Matthews touched a little bit on DNA evidence. And he was right, the same kit was done. Just like they swabbed Mr. Gibson's mouth, they swabbed Mr. Taylor's mouth. What that means is they put a little swab in there, get your DNA, send it off to be tested. Ladies and gentlemen, through this investigation, officers also documented and collected gray bedding from the Airway Motel room, black bedding from the Airway Motel room, one used condom, swabs from both of their mouths, the rape kit. Now, with the rape kit, this is very important. They collected swabs from the vaginal vault, swabs from the vaginal vestibule, anus swabs, oral cavity swabs, inner thigh swabs, left side nail swabs, right side nail swabs, known head hair, left side nail clippings, and right side nail clippings. They collected all of that evidence, and what you are not going to hear in this trial at all is that they can find Tyrone Taylor's DNA on him.
Child,
A
what?
man that raped her, beat her, and tortured her for 6 to 12 hours, depending on what she says and who she's talking to, they won't find DNA. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to see any pictures in this trial to where she's beaten. You're not going to see pictures in this trial where she's scratched. She didn't have a hangnail at this point. She's not bleeding. She's not cut up. And she has the energy to walk around after being raped for half a day. You're not going to see any of that. On top of that, you're not going to have DNA that says this is Tyrone Taylor's, but they want you to believe the 2 men raped this young lady for 12 hours, abused her, kidnapped her, and forced her to walk the street. You've heard them present their case. I just ask you, please listen to everything presented to you in this courtroom for the next few weeks. Not only do you get to hear what our witnesses say, you actually get to see them when they say it. And that's really important. Because I'm pretty sure Jordan Adams is going to get up here, she's going to start crying. You don't have to worry about just the crying. You get to see and hear everything that's going on. Before you make your final decision, please take your notes, write everything down, pay attention, focus on what you see and what you hear, and I'm confident you will find Tyrone Taylor not guilty of all the charges the state is bringing.
All right. Let me just say this to all of you. If at any point you have to use the restroom, don't sit there uncomfortable. Don't even let me know, okay? With that, our first case.
State calls,
Here you need to tell me these witnesses. I thought it was just opening statements.
Okay.
I didn't know either.
We need a break for a few minutes. Okay, so we take 5 minutes.
All right, for the jury.
Oh, he just like, come on.
Okay, Erin, how you feeling about the opening statements?
I'm interested to see the DNA evidence for sure.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I think
That is usually really compelling. And honestly, with DNA testing today, you leave DNA everywhere you go. Like touch DNA, droplets of sweat. You can pull a full profile off of that now. The fact that they took a bunch of swabs and fingernail clippings and didn't find any of his DNA is very telling to me. And I believe Mr. Matthews also said that there wasn't any of Mr. Gibson's DNA. And that witness didn't necessarily misidentify him, but she definitely described him incorrectly. I'm sorry, there's no mistaking 5'9" and 6'2".
Yep.
It's just not, that's not how that goes. So I would be interested to see how the DNA is going to go, and especially who their expert is. We didn't have that in YSL with DNA. And it would seem that they're, oh, good, they're back.
What is the,
Anyway.
Right.
It would seem that they have like evidence here that not only doesn't meet the burden of beyond a reasonable doubt. And you know what, while we're in here, because that person started with saying that we were a bunch of thirsty hot pockets who believe that this person is innocent and we're jealous of Adrienne Love. No one is jealous of Adrienne Love, first of all. And we're also not criticizing her personally. We're criticizing her conduct in the courtroom. There is a way to try a case that is fair. And if the evidence is there, then it's there. And if it's not, prosecutors have special rules that they are supposed to follow. You are obligated, if you know that your evidence does not meet that burden, to drop the charges. You should not be prosecuting cases that you know you can't prove. And regardless of what you think of Miss Love, regardless of what you think of us, every defendant who walks in that courtroom and sits at that table is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. This is day one. They are cloaked with the presumption of innocence, and they will continue to be until a jury reaches a guilty verdict for any of them.
It's hard. I feel like I like walking into trials, like same with Karen Reed, where I don't really know much of what's going on. And I always refer to Paige saying that you enter every trial unbiased, but as evidence is presented, you start to form a bias. So I always look at it that way. I will say that I liked this last opening the best, right? The mom, she must not be in a lot of stuff because it was really quick, straight to the point. She received some cash apps, basically minimizing it. That's why we're here. She got some cash apps. And I do like Mr. Matthews. I understand why he was, this case, it apparently sounds like it's going to start at 2013. He's saying, listen, during these years, this man had a very, very busy and hectic lifestyle as he was a popular rapper. So trying to distance him from what we're hearing. But I am just interested to see the evidence because during the state's case, my jaw was on the floor. Like, what? Wait a minute. They did what? They said what? And as each defense attorney got up to talk, I'm like, okay, this is Fulton. I get it. Bonnie loves to use RICO. Let me see the evidence and let me see how we got to these conclusions. And then let's see if it's more likely than not that these things happen.
The mom is only charged with RICO, trafficking a person for sexual services, 3 counts of that, and then 1 count of prostitution, which is a misdemeanor, and 1 count of pandering, which is a misdemeanor. So I would assume that those are all related to the cash apps.
To the cash apps.
Accepting payment in order to traffic a person for sexual services. And obviously we haven't read the indictment, but that's what I would assume because everyone else has like 10 plus charges.
10?
Well, the other 2 people who are in the courtroom currently. Mr. Taylor has 11, and then Mr. Gibson has 19.
Wow, 19 charges.
It's a lot.
19 charges.
Yes.
And I'm correct. Am I correct to assume? And I know you have the indictment here. Let's see y'all before we start talking about the indictment. I want to kind of see what else was going on. I don't know if she came back. This isn't live. They're not still live, are they?
I don't think they are.
They are.
Oh, right now?
Wait. It went off. Oh, it ended 2 hours ago. So maybe she ended up in the court. Okay, it's done. Okay, this is the indictment. You got it, Aaron?
Yes, I do.
This is the indictment.
Okay, so the people on trial here are Linda Smith, John Gibson, and Tyrone Taylor. Let me pull up the folder. link again. I put everything in a Google Drive folder just so we can kind of
Amazing.
of everything, because I know for a while it took me a minute to get people's names down in YSL. I just have the 3 that are currently on trial in there, and then I will put the remainder of the defendants in there tonight. There are 9 total.
I was trying to get in here so I can hit your Google Drive. Okay. All right. I got it.
Okay. And then, okay. So John Gibson is represented by Keratin Matthews, and then Teresa Moffat. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her last name. I apologize to her if I screwed that up. And then Linda Smith is represented by Dennis Francis. Tyrone Taylor is represented by Lauren Stewart. He also has Sean Hoover listed as an attorney. So he might be represented by a public defender, because Sean is over the Fulton County Public Defender's Office.
Okay.
Okay, so John Gibson is facing 19 total counts. He is facing count 1, RICO. And it should be noted specifically, this is not the same as YSL. They were charged with conspiring to violate RICO. He's charged with an actual violation, which means there has to be, and I don't know this for sure because we haven't read through it yet. I would not be surprised if like the money element is entirely related to his mom, and that is why he's being charged with a violation as opposed to conspiring to violate, because they're going to allege that those cash apps like prove some type of racketeering activity.
Okay.
We'll see how that pans out, because frankly, like so the Stop Cop City kids are also being charged with violating Georgia RICO. All of their money laundering charges were dropped, and the court acts in those, the kids who were like protesting Cop City being built in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of them may or may not have lit some shit on fire. Others literally just like attended a music festival in the Atlanta forest and then were charged with domestic terrorism as a result. And the evidence was like, well, you have mud on your shoes, which is ridiculous. There were 3 who were charged with money laundering in that indictment. I believe they're going to be in the first round to go. Those charges were ultimately dropped, and largely because that was a community bail fund. It wasn't racketeering. And the overt acts that they had in there were like, this person accepted $11.81 reimbursement for glue in furtherance of the enterprise. So if the overt acts are like that, you don't have a violation, baby. I'm not concerned that some girl went to Walmart and bought Elmer's glue. Unfortunately, that is not racketeering. Please stop bringing these indictments. And so obviously they're all charged with that. He's also charged with trafficking a person for sexual servitude, and then 10 rape. Okay. Which is kind of to be expected if they're probably related in the same way that the YSL, like possession of a firearm, like all of the counts on the Shamel Drinks murder, like the murder was like directly related to the 2 specific counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, and then also to the possession of a firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit a felony.
Okay.
So the rape charges are going to be linked to like a certain count of the trafficking. So
I was just looking at all of them, and I was thinking about how the indictment is laid out, saying, okay, maybe one incident has 5 or 6 charges associated with that particular incident.
It'll kind of be the same as like Marquavius Huey had a lot of those as well, where it was like, well, he's charged with robbery, but then for the same thing, he's also charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon because he committed the robbery while like pointing a firearm at someone. And then I think on some of them, he also was charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. And so all of those would be like related to the same overt act in the indictment.
Okay.
First of all, I only liked one of the guys in the courtroom.
Yeah,
So
don't even do it. It's not. Let them talk to themselves. We are really over here. We try to stay in our own lane, but clearly someone is bothered by our lane. So don't even do it.
okay, so 10 and 12. Okay, rape, aggravated sodomy. 14 is trafficking a person for sexual servitude. And then he also has 22 through 30. Damn. So that's trafficking, ag assault, likely to cause serious injury, great bodily harm. That's just an aggravating circumstance. Possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. Pimping. I want to look up that statute later because I want to know the difference between like what they consider pimping versus
what number is that, Aaron? I just looked at the indictment because I heard him kept saying pimping. So I said, is that something? It is.
Yeah, 26.
21.
Yeah, 21, 26.
32.
Yeah.
I want to read that one too, Aaron. It literally does say pimping.
Let me just look it up.
It does say pimping. Hey, y'all, that's what he done named the chat, child. A chat full of pygmies. It's crazy. I didn't look at the profile picture, y'all. What was it? Why can't it be like Instagram? Block this person, any other accounts associated with them.
Okay, so trafficking and they had him under siege.
Oh no, Sharonda. She said Anata Lewis passed. Wasn't she like I think they said she was going to Bali or something to go try some natural remedies. Ananda. I said Ananda.
She's only 52. Oh my goodness.
She's super young. And I want to say she said she was like opting this go around to try something natural. Her cancer came back. And I feel like it was Bali. I could be wrong.
Stage 4 of any type of cancer, especially breast cancer, is like very devastating. Even if those remedies didn't work, I genuinely like hope that they provided her like a lot of peace and comfort and solace in her final moments. That's incredibly sad.
Man.
Okay, now I'm going to make a very harsh transition.
Go.
Do the code definitions of trafficking and pimping. And I apologize. Okay, so trafficking, and they're specifically charged with subsection C, I believe for most of them. Yeah. So that's okay, so not that one, not coercion. Okay, a person commits the offense of trafficking an individual for sexual servitude when that person knowingly subjects an individual to or maintains an individual in sexual servitude, recruits, entices, harbors, transports, provides, solicits, patronizes, or obtains by any means an individual for the purpose of sexual servitude, or benefits financially or by receiving anything of value from the sexual servitude of another. Versus pimping, which is a person commits the offense of pimping when he or she performs any of the following acts: offers or agrees to procure a prostitute for another, offers or agrees to arrange a meeting of persons for the purpose of prostitution, directs or transports another person to a place when he or she knows or should know that the direction or transportation is for the purpose of prostitution, receives money or any other thing of value from a prostitute without lawful consideration, knowing it was earned in whole or in part from prostitution, or aids, abets, counsels, commands another in the commission of prostitution, or aids or assists in prostitution where the proceeds or profits derived therefrom are to be divided amongst. Okay. So,
Well, dang.
I love that, but okay. Because there's not a specific, pimping is just 16-6-11. There's not like a specific like section, or so we'll have to go through and see, because some of these are very similar to the trafficking statute, which smells a little double jumping to me, but
I'm like, do you think that's like a safety net for them? Okay, if we don't get the trafficking, maybe we'll get these lesser charges.
They do that all the time.
Wow. And those are all of his charges, but you said there are 9 people on the indictment.
Yes, there are. Okay, John Michael Hakeem Gibson, Linda Smith, Samuel Lionel Vinny, Tyrone Orlando Taylor, Kiera Danielle Adams, Demetrius Lamont Edwards, Deanna Chantel Sanders, and Raven Mills.
So they got Linda Smith, aka Moranica Vinny. She must use a fake, a fraudulent name or something.
She might have. That might be maybe the name on her Cash App. That's the allegation. Okay. Anyway, got distracted. 22 through 30, trafficking, ag assault, great bodily harm or serious injury, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, pimping, pandering, keeping a place of prostitution, willful obstruction of law enforcement officer, simple battery. And then he also has 39 through 42 and 45.
Cute.
Okay, so 39, trafficking, pimping, pandering, keeping a place of prostitution. And then 45, possession of prohibited items by inmate or providing prohibited items to inmate.
AirPods.
Okay. Yeah.
Cell phone.
And I mean, I will say, perhaps if you don't want people to have prohibited items while in custody, you should not keep them in there for 4 years.
He's been in jail for 4 years now, right?
I believe so. Let me double check to verify. I know Tyrone Taylor his arrest date was 2019. So he's been in there for a while as well. I don't remember when Linda Smith. Yeah, September 20th of 2021 is when he was arrested.
Okay, that's when I remember it being on the news and on socials.
Yeah. So, honestly, like it's kind of to be expected at a certain point, especially with like the level of violence that is present like in the Fulton County Jail. Yeah. Tyrone Taylor was booked March 13th, 2019. And they have all been held without bond. And then Linda Smith was booked April 19th of 2022. So they have all been in there for a minimum of 3 years. So if it's something like a cell phone, I'm sorry, I don't really care. You might need to call 911 the way that Fulton County Jail goes.
Honey, you are so correct. I told you guys that I have a cousin, and my sister was like, "Oh, you should talk about his case." I don't really know much about his case, but I think he was sentenced to like 15 years for sex trafficking for sounds like some of the same stuff. I never read the indictment. I need to actually get it so I can read it, but I never read the indictment or anything. But it's not pimping, and I wish people would understand that what you were doing years ago, it is not the same in 2025. It's just not the same, and you will end up in sex trafficking now. I mean, it's always been sex trafficking, but you guys know what I mean. The law is very different. So what you were getting away back then, You are not getting away. You're not getting away with that. You're not getting away with that.
I also have a MacBook, so I'm gonna blame it on the keyboard.
It's the MacBook. It's not us. It's the MacBook.
Mikkel, you better delete that.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, and then mom has 6. Okay, 1, which is RICO, and then 36 through 39 and 41.
Man, I think she said it's gonna be a long trial. I don't think it's gonna be 160 something days long, but it might be 3 to 4 months.
3 counts of trafficking, prostitution, and then pandering. And then Mr. Taylor has 11. He has 1. And then he also has 9, which is rape. 11 is aggravated sodomy. 13, trafficking. 15, ag assault. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. False imprisonment, pandering by compulsion, possession of cocaine, tampering with evidence, willful obstruction of law enforcement, and pimping, which, again, misdemeanor. Okay, let me see what page this actually starts on. Okay.
That girl said the minimum of 9 months. I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be 9 months. I don't think it's going to be by key. I don't think it's going to be 9 months though.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So at the top, they're charged with a violation. In the Overt Act, it's conspiracy to violate. Those are 2 separate things. The violation is subsection B, conspiracy to violate either subsection A or subsection B is subsection C. So that's when you very well be kind of a thing that, like the thing that Antonio Sledge went through, where they technically charged him with either 131, like 1611-131 or 1611-133. And during his plea colloquy, he was like, they were interchanging the language of both statutes, even though they are separate and carry very different sentences. And then they sentenced him with the harsher sentence.
Got it.
Wound up with the 30 years of probation, which thankfully Jim, happily angry lawyer, just got 10 years shaved off of that.
Yep.
And that's not over either. So still free Moontunk. Okay, so first day of May 2013, between first day of May 2013 and 8th day of February 2022, through a pattern of racketeering activity. I'm not reading all that. We know the drill at this point. Okay. Conduct an enterprise to obtain property, currency through a pattern of racketeering activity, individually and together committed acts of racketeering activity. Purposes.
What page are you on, Erin? What page?
This is page 6.
Okay, thank you.
Purposes of the overt acts and acts of racketeering activity include but are not limited to committing crimes to support the enterprise, trafficking, ag assault, false imprisonment, pimping, pandering, prostitution, keeping a place of prostitution, tampering with evidence, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, preserving and protecting the profits, reputation, and influence of the enterprise. Okay. Through violence, sexual violence, intimidation, and threats of violence, providing financial support and assistance to the enterprise's associates, using the proceeds of the commercial sex activities and sale of controlled substances. So it seems we have another well-organized drug trafficking ring here. Promoting and advertising the continued unity of the enterprise by posting images and videos on the social media of associates. Oh, good.
Here we go.
Instagram.
Yeah, here we go.
Personal phones and jail phones to plan, share, coordinate, and discuss the activities of the enterprise. So it's going to be more, we promise this is cohesive. This is a well-organized drug trafficking ring. These Instagram posts are very incriminating, and also they are keeping each other a prize, and please, please, please let this in because we don't have a case otherwise.
Well, the lawyer did just say something about Instagram and Facebook messages, so that's probably a big part of their case again.
Yeah. I'll definitely be interested to see those because I wonder if it is something similar to the web where some of the people in there were for sure talking about like paying rent at that house, and some of the people were in there talking about the Buccaneers game and laundry.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay, part 1, members of the enterprise. John Gibson. Individuals served as booking agent, manager, recruiter, mother, brother, cousin, as well as members of his entourage. Okay. The enterprise constitutes a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity, engaged in racketeering activities. That, to me, seems to contradict that he somehow used his record label, Pyres Music Group, LLC, to coerce, entice, and recruit. If it's not an official entity, then...
what are they saying right there?
Right. Then what is the enterprise alleged? Okay. Unidentified and identified members. Great.
Here we go with this again.
Same shit, different day.
Man.
John Gibson, Demetrius Edwards. He was one of the 5 that was listed in that the Fox 5 article. His case is still open. He was granted bond. Him and Kiera Adams were both listed. So I think their cases are still open. They're not in this trial. They were granted bond, though.
He said Ms. Love definitely wrote this. Child.
Okay, Demetrius Edwards, Tyrone Taylor, Linda Smith, a.k.a. Moranika Vinny. They keep saying that. So that probably will be an element of this trial.
I wonder if it's a fraudulent name.
It might be.
Because that's not her name. Maybe, maybe that's a name she was using on stuff, like you said.
And obviously the overt acts themselves don't have to be illegal to prove RICO. But I will say, there's absolutely nothing criminal if they're alleging that these are simply Cash App payments. There's nothing criminal or wrong about using an alias on your Cash App. You can put whatever name you want on there. It's not a crime. Okay, Samuel Lionel Vinny. So that's the same last name as this alias that his mom has.
Yeah.
So that might be an element as well. Kiera Adams, Deanna Sanders, and Raven Mills. Okay. There it is. Okay, cool. And then they go into background and elements of the enterprise. He promotes his brand through various mediums, including his label, Pyrex Music Group. Okay. Although now administratively dissolved, that's why. Cash Out used PMG along with his brand name Cash Out to promote his music and the Cash Out brand, and through the use of deception and then coercion, enticed and recruited women from social media platforms to engage in commercial sexual activity. Okay, again, I want to see the messages. His music and brand, they expected to receive financial opportunities and personal benefits, including but not limited to increased power and status. Members represented it by use and display of the PMG logo and the Cash Out name through use of tattoos, social media posts, and clothing. Okay. Acts in furtherance. We all know what predicate acts are at this point. Okay, 2013. He did aid, abet, counsel, and command to Lisa Dewberry in the Commission of Prostitution. Pandering, same person. Okay, and then that's his mom. She did aid, abet, counsel, and command to Lisa Dewberry in the Commission of Prostitution. And then Samuel Lionel Vinny. counsel in command to Lisa Dewberry and the commission of prostitution. This is all the same girl, pimping, pandering, trafficking, etc.
So what we're gonna see is of the overt acts, the charges we'll see 10 to 12 entries for this one incident that they're alleging.
Yeah, like this one person is overt acts 1 through 7. This one is interesting. Did solicit to Lisa Dewberry to perform an act of prostitution on behalf of a third person, John Doe.
John Doe must be the I guess the person buying it.
I guess. What I will say is Mr. Doe needs to get up on that stand.
Because just saying the buyer, thank you, Key. Just saying John Doe, how do you know it to be fact? I guess we're listening to the victim, but what is okay? I'm like you, get him on the stand.
And I think it's Dewberry is not indicted in this, and they did say that like there were certain people that were going to get on the stand and testify.
Oh, defendants, yep, is what they called them.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was potentially something similar to like the Diddy trial, where it's like, okay, well, we could indict you. We could very easily, because you engaged in prostitution. You either received payment or committed an act of prostitution, which we now believe is in furtherance of this enterprise. We can indict you, or you can get on the stand and testify. We will issue a sealed indictment, and then you come in with your attorney, you talk to us, we wiggle a little bit, and then you get up on the stand and you tell us that you did in fact commit this act or accept payment for this act, and we will never unseal that indictment. We will never bring charges against you. Not quite the same as testifying for nothing in return. So we'll see who actually ends up
saying. I saw the chat, like nobody's doing this just for free. Nobody's just gonna just be willingly doing this. So what is it they were offered?
And then we have 8/19/2013 to 12/31/2014. Pimping, and this is Jessica McQueary. So the next list of them. So Jessica McQueary is 8, 9, and 10, and that is pimping, pandering, simple battery. He caused physical harm to Jessica McQueary by striking her in the mouth. And then 11, we jump to May of 2015. Trafficking, Dominique Wiwatowski. For the purpose of sexual servitude through the use of deception by creating or confirming an impression of existing fact which is false to compel compliance. Okay, so essentially made false or deceptive promises or statements to get her to commit this act. Okay. Same thing, trafficking, but against Linda. Deanna Sanders, trafficking. Same person. Okay. Pimping, pandering. This is another John Doe that is going to be in here. I was definitely not switching the slides. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay. And then page 11. And then we go to Frederica Spencer, and then she's in the next few. She's 16 through 19. Pimping, pandering, pandering. These don't necessarily have like the same amount of detail that YSL did. Like the hitting someone in the mouth and then this number 20 are the only ones with a lot of details. Deanna Sanders did commit the offense of keeping a place of prostitution, did have or exercise control over a place, Delk Road, room 222. a hotel. I know it's not a hotel room.
It seems like it's a hotel room.
It is a budget inn and suite.
Yeah, I'm like, it seems like that's a hotel room. And they've been motels, might I add. Quality Inn. You said that's a budget inn.
Yeah. This is the budget inn and suite, Atlanta Marietta Stadium. It's a pet-friendly hotel that features free Wi-Fi and a daily continental breakfast.
Wow.
And apparently it's also a place of prostitution. So whether or not that's a selling point for you, sure, why not? Which would offer seclusion or shelter for the practice of prostitution. So apparently they would take them to like this specific room in this specific hotel. You better have records of that. Talitha Wright, Pimping, Pandering, another John Doe. Yep. Okay. Pimping, pandering. And then we go down to Jasmine Brown, trafficking, pandering. And a lot of these are trafficking through means of deception and coercion by confirming an impression of an existing fact. So I wonder if that's like an offer of like something closer to that of like R. Kelly. Sorry, Key. Where it was alleged that he would offer people like record deals and then was never intending to give them record deals. That would be something like deception. We'll see.
I'm ready to see the evidence too, especially saying that, especially since Aaron has pointed out that this isn't as detailed as YSL. They're just, hey, this is what they did. And hopefully the evidence, like, how are they going to prove that this is what was happening? What do they have to corroborate what they're saying? Because it's not as detailed. It's just saying this is what they did. Like she said, you may see them say he hit this person in the mouth.
So the YSL indictment, there were like pictures that they attached.
Pictures, everything.
They posted them on social media.
Yep.
They did X, Y, and Z on this date. These, like, they have general dates, but like 3/27 to 3/28.
I
Like,
wonder how they got so specific with the dates.
As opposed to having on X, Y, and Z date at X, Y, and Z address, this person committed this act by doing this specific thing in furtherance of the enterprise. It's just like copy and pasting the statute.
Maybe, Key. We're going to see.
Key, I mean, stuff like receipts.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a record of them booking this specific hotel? This person, Deanna Chantel.
Video surveillance of them walking in. I hope we see that stuff in here. I'm sorry, not for the indictment, but I'm hoping we see him walking into this room, like paying for these rooms or something.
Like, she's always the person who obtains the room. She received money from this person and used it to get this hotel room on this date. And then like, aligning transactions for and aligning messages, contact, communication with people who they were allegedly like retaining for purposes of prostitution. And then following that, aligning payments and actually aligning not gas station and FedEx video aligning, not ankle monitor and gas station video aligning, things that actually add up.
Yeah.
Okay, and we had Jordan Adams, same thing, trafficking, ag assault. They pointed a handgun at Jordan Adams, apparently. Tyrone Taylor apparently pointed handgun at Jordan Adams. Okay. False imprisonment. This is still, next page is still Jordan Adams. Pandering.
We're halfway through the indictment too, and a lot of it.
Yeah. Tampering with evidence. Tyrone Taylor did knowingly try to destroy or conceal physical evidence, to wit, swallowing a baggie of cocaine. Well, all right then. I hope he's okay. Possession of cocaine. Well, yeah, that. Sure. That seems kind of obvious. And then it goes back to Jordan Adams. Back to pimping. Willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use of threats or violence. Did knowingly resist, obstruct, and oppose officer V. Yumayans, I think.
That may be. I wonder if that's what Mr. Where Adams was talking about. Yeah, I wonder if that's what he was talking about when he was saying the man was asleep.
I don't. This one is Tyrone Taylor, and it's the same as. Okay, law enforcement officer engaged in the lawful discharge of his official duties by doing violence to the person of such officer by kicking at or biting towards the officer. Okay, so trumped up resisting arrest. And then another one, willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Same thing to Officer K. O'Neill. I'm not quite sure how you bite two people at the same time, but I guess we'll find out. And then we go back to Jasmine Brown again for John Gibson. Okay. Trafficking. Ag assault. Did unlawfully commit an assault upon the person of Jasmine Brown with an object which, when used offensively against the person, is likely to result in serious bodily injury, to wit, a belt. So when you have something like serious bodily injury, it's going to be something like a firearm or a knife or something that can be used to strangle a person.
Okay. We're damn near done with it. Like you said, so many of the overt acts go towards one event or one person.
We're still on Jasmine Brown, pimping, pandering, keeping a place of prostitution, 737 Alfred Road, Northwest. Let me look this one up too. Okay, this one is not a hotel. This one is a house. So no free Wi-Fi or continental breakfast at this place.
Bye, child.
43. Okay, so John Gibson. Okay, so this must be his house. Because that's 4/29/2019 to June 7th, 2019 was the keeping a place of prostitution. And then June 7th, 2019, John Gibson did commit the offense of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. He did knowingly resist, obstruct, and oppose Officer Powdrill, a law enforcement officer engaged in the lawful discharge of his official duties, when the accused refused to comply with the officer's command to come out while officers were in the process of executing a search warrant at his address. Oh, and then 44, we're back to Jasmine Brown. And this is the same thing as the ag assault, serious bodily injury, simple battery, so like a lesser included. Did cause physical harm to Jasmine Brown by beating her with a belt. And then possession of a firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. Did unlawfully have on and with arm's reach a handgun during the commission of or attempt to commit trafficking a person for sexual servitude.
Jasmine says she needs a code name. We'll call her JB. We'll just say JB and not Jasmine. Yes, Alice girl, Mariah.
This is Jasmine with an S, not Jasmine with a Z.
Kylie's here. Kylie went to sleep, so I got a little mini stepper. Maybe I'm gonna do my mini stepper today.
Okay, they don't have possession of firearm during commission of, unlawfully have they don't list a person that he was allegedly trafficking with respect to the possession of a firearm during commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, that's
So
interesting.
what's that about? Like, what is that about then?
I don't know. I'm not sure if they're alleging it in general. This is way more. Okay, whatever. So that's all JB. Simple battery, possession of firearm. Still down to 46, and we're on JB. Still JB, pimping, pandering, keeping in place prostitution, same house. For Kiera Adams, which I believe, she's indicted. She's one of the people who has an open case but was granted bond. I don't know if she is.
That is 57. Is that 57?
This is 49.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, I'm on way. I'm too far up. How the hell I thought I saw 57? Oh, okay. Okay, I got it now. Boots.
So I wonder if they were, I don't remember if he said it, if they were residing in the home together. Okay, and then willful obstruction of Sergeant Danny Doyle. Apparently, Kiera gave him false information when asked if there was another person inside the home. Linda Smith, trafficking. Again, JB. Linda Smith, trafficking. Again, JB. And this is like receiving financial value. Okay, prostitution. No person listed in 54. Pandering, did solicit Jane Doe to perform an act of prostitution.
Did they say Jane Doe?
Mm-hmm.
So they could get up there and say, or someone can say, well, we met this girl. I don't know her name. I don't know who she is, but this happened. Or it could be a person in there. What's the word? They're not going to tell us her identity.
Yeah. Like her identity will be sealed. Her testimony may not be streamed. I guess we'll find out. And we're back to Jordan Adams again.
What else? Oh, Jordan Adams is the young lady that they were talking about.
Yeah. Trafficking for her as well. This was Demetrius Edwards. Criminal attempt to commit a felony. Did knowingly perform a substantial step by recruiting individuals for the purposes of sexual servitude, by providing photographs and social media contacts of women to his co-conspirator and member of the enterprise, John Gibson. While said co-conspirator and member of the enterprise was in jail, in violation of Georgia law, racketeering activity, and overt act in furtherance. Kiera Adams did commit the offense of prostitution, did offer and consent to perform a sexual act, including but not limited to sexual intercourse. And then that's going to be a confrontation clause issue. John Gibson is accused of pimping against Kiera Adams, transporting her to a place where she knew that the transportation was for the purpose of prostitution. Again, you are presumed innocent. You have the right to confront your accusers. That's going to be a problem. And him, his mom, and Kiera Adams trafficked Shantori Talbert, and then pimping, pandering, keeping in place prostitution, same house. And then, okay, so here's where we get into like, oh, just kidding. That's still just...
It's the same thing, it looks like. I don't know why they did that, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. They're like going through all of these counts. They're still not giving dates for the counts. It's like count 5. Nope, that's still just likely to result in strangulation. Yeah, it's literally just like copying and pasting
I don't understand why they put it in both forms, but okay.
Right. So you already. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not like a lot of detail. Like there's some that like count 11, the exact date. Oh. Okay. Between the 11th day of January.
That's the baby dog, y'all. Sorry, Aaron. That's the baby dog. I'm going to mute because he crying. Mariah just put him in the crate.
Between the 11th day of January and the 12th day of January, the exact date being unknown, did unlawfully and with force perform a sexual act involving an accused male's sex organ in the mouth of Jordan Adams against the will of Jordan Adams. Okay. Why is that the one thing that you included detail on?
Craziness.
And that's pretty much it. Everything else is like just copying and pasting the statute. Yeah, there's literally nothing. Like I'm halfway through these. That's the only one that has any additional details outside of the ones that we already read in all of the overt acts. Use of deception, ag assault, same thing. Same thing. Yeah, it's not very detailed. I guess we'll have to see like what bears out at trial. Because I'm also not seeing details with respect to Miss Smith's Cash App. Ooh. Let's see the witness list.
How long is the witness list?
Oh, it's not that long, like 2 pages.
Okay.
Okay, so Jordan Adams, Jasmine Brown, Evan Shapiro, Heather Shapiro, Jordan Shapiro Adams. Is that the same person? I don't know. Laura Stork, Samuel Vinny. Okay, so that's Samuel Vinny's a co-conspirator, so they're going to call him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a bunch of APD and Fulton County Sheriff's Office. E. Brown, K. Collins, A. Cutroneo, V. Flores, Atlanta Police Department. That name is familiar.
Yep.
Yeah. And then P. Could?
I mean, from looking at this, Aaron, I don't see any of these alleged John Does they've contacted or found to get on this stand.
I really do not like this. Charge history. I wonder if that's something that they do in Georgia often.
Not Archie.
Because they have like almost zero detail that's in there, but they have a ton, literally the remainder of the pages are criminal history, prior bad acts. I hate it. Thanks.
Not one, honey. Not one.
Well, I guess Kira Adams. But I don't know that she was arrested for, she has like 1 count of performing a sex act, and the rest of them are like lying to police.
And I'm sure the police are there from these different times these people were arrested.
Yeah.
But I don't like the layout of the case. I'm not gonna have one person. Where are the people at the hotels?
Maybe that's some of the John Does. Maybe they'll have John Does submit like depositions, or I don't know, testify and just not have media in there.
Kiss, you better be careful. I want to know why is that I don't like the way the witness list looks.
I don't like it either. It's really short. Like it's
Very
just
short.
Police officers, and then like even all of the victims aren't even testifying.
What is up with that?
And I don't remember Heather Shapiro, Evan Shapiro, or Laura Stork being mentioned in any of the stuff that we just read.
Maybe they work at the hotels. No, 2 people had the same last name. I wonder, or
But then Jordan Shapiro Adams, that makes me wonder if Jordan Adams is then also somehow.
I was just finna say, Aaron, maybe they're her parents.
They could be. Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe they're her parents. I don't like the freaking witness list. This indictment is too long.
Yeah.
There are too many charges for you to get up there, and I'm only going to hear from police who were probably there for a raid. A raid, or maybe they're for one incident. Where is the rest? Now, I'm going to tell you, I've been looking at his Instagram. It definitely looks like this is what he was doing. He had a little business going on. But when you are in the court, like beyond a reasonable doubt, what else are you going to offer to prove that? I'm like, y'all, I want to know, do we have him on surveillance, renting these hotel rooms? Do we have his credit cards where he paid for them? What else do we have? Y'all got some pages showing that he was in the back. What else do we have? And this list is too short for me to even believe they're going to show me any of that.
Yeah, there's no detail. And I also, like, there was only one act related to social media.
And his social media, sure. I wonder why. Maybe do you think maybe he could have said, I was promoting the video, it was some music, or it was a line? Because one of his Instagram things is, I told her I'm proud of you. Now, considering the charges, I'm thinking he's talking about a girl who just brought him some money or has been bringing money, but it's also a very popular thing for people to say.
Let me see what page this is on, because they said that this was.
See, I'm just saying, why isn't it included? I would think this is stuff they would have included.
Like, there's only one act, this 57, recruiting individuals for, and this was Demetrius Edwards, recruiting individuals for the purpose of sexual servitude by providing photographs and social media contacts of women to his co-conspirator. I'm sorry. That sounds a lot like, look at this girl on Instagram.
Yep.
She's really hot. That's not illegal. You're allowed to look at people on Instagram.
I'm sorry. When you look at his page, I mean, he's not escaping the allegations. But what can they prove? His page definitely looks like he had an OnlyFans. I just saw a video of two women kissing. He said link in bio. Maybe he had an OnlyFans, and that's not a crime.
No, it's not.
He can have an OnlyFans.
And it's also, like, even if it's not related to OnlyFans, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's the first rapper to slide into somebody's DMs on Instagram.
Yep.
And then end up engaging in some type of sexual or romantic relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
Also not illegal.
Nope. Very interested to see what happens.
Definitely not illegal.
I don't know what's going to happen with this, but he's doing something, and it could all be OnlyFans. I mean, that could be what he's doing, right? We won't know until we get the evidence. But that witness, I don't like it, Aaron. That witness list is way too short. We're going to be here a long time.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm interested to know why we're going to be here a long time when your witness list is like 2 pages long.
It's 2
and
pages.
Most of it is cops, and you don't even have all of the victims listed. You don't have any of the John Does, any of the Jane Does listed. So I don't know.
I'm interested to see, because we always say this, the prosecution has the burden. You have to prove what you are alleging in this indictment.
Yeah. And it feels like remarkably, because grand jury proceedings are also secret.
Mm-hmm.
It feels remarkably prejudicial to have all of this indictment, like this entire indictment with very little detail, and then the last 10 or so pages are nothing more than his criminal history.
Yeah. I see. I get that, Aaron.
Like, you are immediately going to inject this idea of criminality
With
of
him.
this particular person into the proceedings.
Yep.
We don't know. I mean, like, the grand jurors are listed on there, but we don't know who they are, like, actually as people.
Yep.
One of them could very well have been like, well, if he committed all of these crimes, if he possessed cocaine on this date and this date, he for sure possessed cocaine on this date. So let's just go ahead and indict him. And the standard is very low. It's probable cause. Could he have? Well, yeah, of course he could have. Look at all the times that he did previously. Look at all the times he was charged with it previously. I hate that.
Aaron said, Mel, Aaron, y'all talking to yourselves. We couldn't even tell because I'm sitting here listening to Aaron. So I'm listening to what Aaron is saying. I wasn't even looking at the chat.
Neither was I. Lord, okay. Also, there's still 140 people in here.
I'm like, no, we're not. We're talking to each other. What you got me? What was the OnlyFans name, Key?
Right, Key, does he have an OnlyFans?
It's deleted now.
Well.
But what was the name? I just keep saying this, he's not the only rapper. What is the man's name? He from Houston. He sometimes wears like hair bows on his hair. He has an OnlyFans, a very lucrative OnlyFans with his girlfriends, and he has more than one girlfriend. Damn, what is his name? I can't remember his name. But I remember years and years ago seeing a post of them promoting the OnlyFans, and Sauce Walker, yes, he makes a lot of money from OnlyFans. There's nothing wrong with having the OnlyFans.
$10 million from managing
OnlyFans. Girls and long stroke. Okay. Nothing wrong with the man's OnlyFans, and he could very easily say he was promoting a legitimate business. Now, as to what they're alleging in the indictment, we're going to have to see what this evidence looks like.
Right. Because I don't know if y'all remember. I don't remember anyone mentioning OnlyFans. I remember them mentioning Cash App.
I don't.
If OnlyFans is going to be an issue here, they need to call somebody from OnlyFans to say, well, we believe that the women participating in these videos were not willingly participating, that they were participating because they had been promised something, because they had been coerced to participate, etc. And I feel like at this point, I really hope they picked like a good jury who is familiar with social media, with like OnlyFans is not a new thing.
No,
it's not somewhat common now.
It's actually pretty popular among this generation. Look at how Jane Doe in the Diddy case said she was able to start really making money once she decided to do OnlyFans.
And I mean, they could very well bring up other artists who have OnlyFans as well as like an extra. It like me personally, I'd be like, listen.
Oh, she said it's the girl. It's the girl only.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I wonder if they're gonna like allege that he managed it or something.
He could say he was her manager. He could say. I don't know. I will say that, like Aaron pointed out, the indictment is very vague. They're not really getting into any detail, which I have a problem with. I have a problem with how vague it is. All of these counts to one incident. You don't see all of these victims on the witness list. It's very short. It's very short. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why am I hearing about people I will not see?
And also, like, still, even if she's operating her OnlyFans, still not illegal to have an OnlyFans. It's also not illegal for him to manage that OnlyFans. If she has like a particularly popular OnlyFans, or if she is like, it's not just her and one additional partner, it's her and like multiple partners, like, and she's living in the home, he could be managing her OnlyFans.
Yeah.
He could be vetting people that she is going to make content with. Not a crime.
Yeah.
Like, it's passive income, whatever, it's not illegal. And it's not, you really shouldn't be indicting it and then sticking a bunch of criminal history at the bottom of the indictment and no details about what you're actually accusing him of. So we might be getting YSL 2.0 after all.
We might be, y'all. Oh, it's already 7. Thank you, Lauren. I mean, not Lauren, Lord. I'm looking at them say Lauren. Hey,
Yeah.
Lauren.
Hi,
Thank
Lauren.
you, Mary, y'all. We've gone through this indictment. We will be keeping up with this case to kind of see what's going on with it. I'm just so ready for it now.
We're saying bye now. Man.
I'm so ready, but I am about to she said I am about to get off of here, guys, because it did start school. I gotta actually do some homework and take care of these doggies. But thank you so much, Erin, for finding the indictment and going over the indictment with us.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. And thank you to all of the mods today for assisting us as well with this crazy person in the chat. Who loves us so much they hate us. But Lord.
Goodbye to them as well. I hope they find a
Yes,
hobby.
bye to you too. You probably come back and watch this. Bye to you too. But yes, but thank you guys so much. I think Erin, she did put the link in here. So if you guys want to go back and read the indictment, she has a Google Drive. So just go back into the live, go through the comments, and you can see the Google Drive.
And I'll put it in there again.
And she's gonna drop it again for you. Thank you.
Because someone, an unidentified, unindicted co-conspirator, has shut off the chat. So,
oh, they shut off the chat.
yeah.
Okay, it's time for you to get off here for real because I don't know how to shut it back on, y'all. But I love y'all. So I'll see y'all later. Bye. See y'all tomorrow. Bye. Wait, Erin. Damn, Erin got off. Bev was saying we're gonna have a conference. It'll just be no jury tomorrow, right, guys? And it's gonna be at 10. I just want to make sure I heard it right. No, the chat off. I'm gonna just get off. I'll text. Bye, y'all. See y'all later.